Stay out of the garden. Welcome to I Hope You Suffer.
Mm, I don't like that one.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
None of them were in a garden, though, so the gnome broke his own rules.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one was murdered in a garden. This is
Gnome
horseshit.
one was murdered in a garden.
I hope you suffer, but why? End of episode.
Listen, you guys know I love a good pun, and this
We
movie,
know.
you know, it is littered with puns. Like a garden, littered with them.
I like when the gnome gives up on doing gnome puns and just starts going for other puns.
Yeah, they're like, well, we've exhausted all the gnome puns, so it's fine.
This is episode 90 of I Know You Suffer. My name is Nathan.
I apologize to
I don't-
everyone whose ears I just blew out, but
I don't know who I am anymore.
oh my god.
You got nothing. That's Katie.
Katie doesn't either. We've all lost our minds.
This week, we all came to the conclusion that I'm no longer allowed to pick movies.
You're no longer.
Yes. We are watching 3 gnome movies for fucking June, starting with 2019's Gnomercy.
No way.
Oh, I hate this already.
I have a confession to make.
That you like this movie?
I did like this movie.
Unbelievable. You're fired.
It's not okay. So anytime we watch any movie, I have a couple minutes, like when we first start watching it in the first 10 minutes, I'm trying to figure out if it's like a serious movie or a joke. And like this one takes a little while until you actually see the gnome. Like I still wasn't really sure because like of course the acting is really bad, the script is really bad, the sound is really bad. Like there's some scenes that I literally wrote, I don't know what's happening because like you couldn't hear what they were saying and the subtitles were messed up. So like I don't know. There's a lot there's a lot. But the gnome itself, like all of the scenes with the
Oh
gnome
my god. Oh my god.
literally killed me. I was like cackling and I thought it was so funny. So I actually kind of liked it. That being said, I don't know that I would watch it again, but it was.
I hated everything but the music, which we will get into. Everybody in it, for some reason, is dressed like it's
The worst.
2001 in 2019. They
Yeah.
just fell out of a fucking Pacific Sun.
Tool concert. It's true. Like people have like bleached hair and labres and like dermals, and they're all wearing like a combination of just like jeans and hoodies and like tank tops. It's
Everyone in the cast is just a giant puka shell. It's very weird. It's extremely distracting.
Just a big ball chain necklace.
oh, I had all.
Jinkos.
Yeah.
Oh my god! I wish there were
If-
jinkos.
If the gnome was wearing Jinkos, it would go a long way towards redeeming this
He
film.
might as
in
well
my
have
opinion.
been. He was
I
just
think
wearing
so.
big ass baggy fucking dicky pants.
The only thing
Was he
that was
wearing-
missing was a studded belt.
Oh no, there
Nathan's-
were a bunch of
Nathan's-
studded
There's
belts.
Were there? I didn't notice.
Yeah,
So nothing
like,
was missing. It's a perfect
least,
movie.
At least 3 of the people were wearing studded belts.
Dang, I didn't know.
There were several times where I was like, I owned that belt. So, it's definitely in there.
There was some really cool Adidas.
Oh god. So Katie's off the podcast for the combination of that joke and liking this movie.
This is my new low. We all have one.
I don't
I'm a
remember the
Gnomercy
last.
apologist.
I don't remember the last movie that I was like, this is actually. I guess maybe The Lock-In.
No, well, the lock-in was good, just only.
Because it's crazy.
Yeah, just the plot, I think.
The chair swing.
Yes.
Oh my God, I cannot wait to get to this part later in the movie to talk about it because it's. I'm gonna wait.
All right. This movie was directed by Colin Jeffrey and Mark White.
Directed is a strong word.
They also
Okay.
did lighting.
That's the camera.
They also were the mic boom guys.
That's what I was gonna say. They did like almost everything. Them, and then one of my favorite characters in this movie, the pizza guy, he also is credited as doing like a bunch of stuff too. So they like literally did almost everything for this movie except for the music.
Yeah, I mean that's actually pretty common with like super low budget movies.
They just had a lot on their plate. Okay, give them some slack.
This budget was so low, the gnome couldn't even grow his own beard. They couldn't afford beard oil for him or something. They just found some trash and stapled it to his face.
I for one,
loved it.
am very disappointed at how big the gnome is.
Oh my
He's
gosh,
so he's not even remotely gnomish.
Yeah, he's like bigger than almost everybody except for the fucking bald dude that beats everybody up.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was so strange.
AKA the best character in the movie.
Vin Diesel?
Yes,
Vin Diesel. I wrote that line. I wrote a lot of quotes for this movie because the dialogue is insane. It's just a bonkers.
So bad.
I have one spot that my only note is I guarantee you Kit laughed at this.
Probably true.
I can't wait to see what it was.
I didn't
I
write
liked
down
it a lot.
I didn't write down anybody starring in this movie because who cares?
None of them have like headshots except for
Nathan
Uh,
Shea.
Nathan.
Yeah, I don't think anybody in this movie really did. I went through about like the top 10 people on IMDb, and everybody except for I think one person, this was the only thing they'd done. So
Okay, so
That guy was the Chuck E. Cheese manager in Clown.
that's literally what I was just about to say.
Amazing.
oh boy,
What a step down going from Chuck E. Cheese manager in Clown to Jeremy in No Mercy.
Is
A
he-
person whose name I did not know until I looked up the IMDb.
I didn't know anyone had a name in this
I
one.
literally none of my notes have names.
I pieced it together, but yeah, it's one of those movies where there's like I mean I know that like 6 characters does not seem like a lot, but when but when you don't know who anybody is, it's really confusing. So it literally took me the whole movie to like piece together what everyone's name was.
I mean, there's like mainly 4 main characters throughout most of the movie, but there's also about 600 spare characters that just show up just to get killed.
Yeah.
Which I do appreciate that there's at least like a body count to this movie, but
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm glad the birdwatcher guy died. I hate
Oh my
him.
no, he
I
was
hate
my
him so much.
favorite.
He's the
That scene and the pizza guy scene are my 2 favorites.
I have in my notes birdwatcher parentheses Kit 100% laughed at Pecker joke.
Oh, I did. I wrote it down. I thought it was so funny. I loved it.
I'm going to assume his name is Bird Reynolds.
Yes. Yeah, I hated this. Sounds like Kit was sort of on board with me. Katie loved it for some
It's
reason.
awful, but I chuckled a lot at like the dumb
it's,
murders.
it's definitely not the worst thing we've watched, but like
No.
I didn't like any of the characters, so I didn't care about like anything that happened with them.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
Well,
they're
I
all
think-
the worst.
Yeah, everyone was terrible. And so that's why I was like really looking forward to a lot of them dying, especially Jason. Hated him a lot. He was like
Was
the
he
main.
the
He was
sort of main guy?
Yeah, he was like the guy whose like parents' cottage it was. I hated him so much. I thought he was so douchey, and so I was very happy when he died, even though I feel like his death wasn't super.
It
Uh,
should,
huh?
it should have been a worse death.
Yeah, for
He
sure.
deserves that.
Yeah.
If you want to enjoy his performance more, uh, realize that his face reminds you of a Guy Fawkes mask.
No,
And
it really does.
changes the movie.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I thought the other guy, that was kind of like a main character, just looked like an untattooed Bam Margera.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I do appreciate how the gnome comes to life, at least.
Yes. Highlight of the 48 seconds
Well, yes, that and the closing credits song highlights of the movie.
Oh.
Unfortunately, they're both at opposite ends of the movie.
You have a whole.
They just really. It was really like they sandwiched it in there.
Yeah,
They had
it's
two good ideas and were like, we need to put an hour and a half between these.
luck. Oh, I say luckily, but it still felt longer. But it's only an hour and 20-minute movie.
That's the longest hour and 20 minutes.
It was pretty rough. Yeah. So
I mean, it's also just like one of those movies where a lot of stuff that doesn't matter happened, so it felt like the amount of times that we get like the group of I don't even know how old these people are supposed to be. These like group of people just like talking about how they're gonna miss each other or like talking about things that don't matter. There's so much of it in the movie that I was like, we don't. It's fine. We don't need to care about these characters at all.
this could have been like a pretty awesome 50-minute movie.
Yeah.
Because there's so many stories that just it's just bullshit from their past that doesn't have any bearing on the plot whatsoever.
And then
There's an entire scene of them playing football for no reason.
yeah, I was gonna say that entire subplot that happens more than halfway of the movie is done with these other characters doesn't matter. They could have just been playing football somewhere else, and we could have seen them get murdered. They don't need to meet. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it just was a lot.
It could have just been those dudes get murdered as the gnome is making its way to the house.
Yeah,
Instead of-
except
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
it's
have
so
one of the
stupid.
worst scenes where they're playing poker and telling really stupid stories. That could have gone away. Yeah.
The cool Scrabble scene where
That was actually-
all of their words are somehow sex related
boner and stuff. Yeah.
They show
Except for Gnome.
And then
was
gnome.
on there. I mean,
Yeah, that was
Yes.
the last word they played.
it could be sex related. You don't know what these fetishes are for these people.
I don't.
You've never known, bro?
I don't know.
I like that when they show some of the Scrabble letters that they have in their on their little platform thing, the letters they have to use. One of them was just F buddies.
Yeah.
Oh god. All right, so this movie starts with some dude. This just fuck. I don't know. This dude sucked. He just drops. He goes to take a piss.
Wait, you forgot the opening title card.
Oh, I don't remember what it was. I remember Kit sending it to me, but I missed it.
I laughed out loud when I saw that. It
What-
says in the middle of ... Nowhere.
Oh, that's right. I knew it was a gnome pun, but I'd started the movie and by the time I looked back up, it was already off screen, and I was like, I'm not rewinding this to 5 seconds to remember what it was.
I laughed out loud when he sent it to us last night, and I told Chris about it, and he was just like, okay.
Yeah, I showed Caitlin.
And I'm
she
like,
was just like, oh no.
Oh, Gnome.
Yeah.
Ah! Our
Uh,
next merch is gonna be a gnome shirt.
It has to be. It has to just be a fucking gnome playing Scrabble.
Maybe it will be.
Dun, dun.
I don't So the sound quality in this movie is atrocious. because
Yeah.
apparently the directors were fucking doing all of the work. So like I could not make out anything in the beginning of this movie. All I know is that at some point this dude in his truck gets out to take a piss and pisses on a garden gnome and then spills his baggie of cocaine on it, and a garden gnome comes to life.
Yeah,
Why
that's
is the garden gnome at a tree, like a tree trunk?
He got
you know,
abandoned by his owner.
yeah.
You
His
know,
own.
Sad.
you know how like owners will just
hate to
drive
see
their
it.
garden gnomes out to the middle of nowhere and just leave them and
It messes up the ecosystem and whatnot.
hope they don't make their way back.
Yeah.
Sad. It's our PSA for the week.
Sad throwaway culture.
My second note is this group of people suck. My third note is the sound in this sucks.
Are you spelling note like Gnote?
I am not.
Good note.
I hate this.
This is who I'm gonna be for the next month. I'm sorry.
Oh god, it's gonna be
I
terrible.
stan it.
I
I stan Gnome Kid.
I legitimately can't wait for a gnome named Norm.
I actually can't either.
No,
I've never heard of it. I'm really excited.
It's like
It looks like a nightmare.
it's not even
Looks-
it's not a horror movie, but I am fucking in. So
That's okay.
Also next week's Gnome Alone is gonna be fucking terrible.
Yes.
Hopefully Vern Troyer saves
You
it.
know it.
Okay, yeah, all my fucking beginning notes are nothing plot wise. Katie, what happens between the gnome coming to life and then my next actual note about the movie is just yard work.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So this is like one of my favorite title cards ever because yeah, so the guy who peed on the gnome and has had the cocaine had like a $2,000 bag of cocaine that just casually spilled on the gnome.
That didn't really look like it should be $2,000.
I mean, I don't know anything about cocaine, so who knows. But he had a girl with him, and you get the scene of like the gnome getting ready to kill her, and she says, "Please, please have mercy." And then the title screen pops up and it says "No mercy," and then the G slaps up there, and you're like, "Damn."
And
Come through.
splatters blood.
Splatters blood, yeah. So basically, a lot of this stuff does not matter in the beginning because it's just like we're at a house party and you get introduced to everybody. But one of the things that I want to talk about is that so there's like this group of people, one, two, three, I don't know. It's confusing because there's like a ton of people at this house party and there's this guy named Chuck whose house they're at. And you think Chuck is a part of the group, but he's not. So Chuck is basically just like, hey, Jason's one of the main characters, asks his
my god,
girlfriend Pam.
I legitimately blocked all of this out. I forgot there was a house party scene at the beginning.
Yeah, they're like doing coke and like smoking weed and like whatever.
Just
And
calling each other women for not wanting a beer.
okay, yeah. So there's a lot of really gross jokes in this, like sexist jokes in this movie. First of all, that's why I was like, was this like the early?
That's why she loved it so much.
Yes. And so like they're talking about how everyone's gonna be leaving, and then they're never gonna see each other again. So like I don't really know if they're supposed to be in high school,
Real high
going
school
away to
hours.
college, right? But they're obviously like not high school age. But anyways, so Jason's like,
Katie.
what?
I said maybe they got held back a lot.
I don't blame. I mean, they're
Really
doing
held
coke.
up members.
So if they're in high school, I can see how that would cause you some issues. So then they're like, I don't know, they're like drinking and whatever. And Jason's like, I want a beer. And there's like a bunch of stuff that doesn't make sense. And then Chuck is like, says to Jason's girlfriend, Pam, I need you to come help me in here. And she comes in and he's like, what kind of drink should I make him? And she's like, I'm not a bartender anymore. And I was like, bitch, once you're a bartender, you're always a bartender. You know, it's like one of those professions where everyone will literally always ask you, like, it's like being like a barista at Starbucks. People will like want to know stuff about drinks or whatever. And then he's like, well, what should I make him? And she says, how about a chocolate chip cocktail? And he's like, well, I don't know how to make that. And she tells him how to make it. The recipe for a chocolate chip cocktail that she gives him is 1 ounce of creme de cacao, 1 ounce of frangelico, and then 3 ounces of milk. First of all,
I don't know
ew.
what two of the three of those things are. So
Okay, creme de cacao is just like
Explain milk.
yeah,
Explain milk to
what's
Nathan, please.
milk?
milk is comes from cows to feed babies, baby cows, and
Oh, so Miak
like
from Ernest Scared
Yeah,
Stupid.
miak. Authentic Bulgarian miak.
yes. Creme de cacao is basically just like chocolate flavoring, like how creme de menthe is like
I don't think there's an
mint.
Ernest reference for that, so I don't care.
There's gotta be. And frangelico is literally just like an aperitif. It's like hazelnut flavored. So my point of this is she's like making this cocktail. There's like almost no alcohol content in it. So anyways.
But wasn't it for a dude that like doesn't drink or something? Wasn't that like the issue?
No, Jason drinks a lot.
For some
They
reason I
all
thought
drink
there
a
was
lot.
somebody that they were just like that like turned down. I don't know. I've blocked out all
I
this
think
scene.
the issue is that they were like out of beer. Okay, anyways, so she like tells him how to make this cocktail, and then but he like obviously does not know what alcohol is because they have all of these bottles on the counter, and he's like picking up a bottle of like whiskey. He's like reading the label. He's like, I don't know, man. Anyways, I just thought that was like an insane cocktail, and then I like looked up if chocolate chip cocktails were a thing, and like they are, but what she said is not a real thing. But anyways, so then this is where you get kind of like the backstory about how Mallory has I guess just like slept with this guy named Andrew, and now he's like obsessed with her, and he keeps like texting her and calling her or whatever, and obviously that comes back. And then that's when they're just like, man, this is gonna be our last weekend together. Let's go to the cottage. So they decide to go to the cottage, and then the next morning, everyone gets picked up. Mallory's still complaining about that guy that won't stop calling her. And then I wrote music and Tool playing. So this is when they like, there's like no, first of all, they're just like showing them driving, and then all of a sudden they just pull off the road because the guy from the beginning of the movie, Jeremy, is laying on the side of the road, and they're like, oh, he's dead. No, he's not. Let's help him. And then he wakes up and like has the gnome's hat and throws it at them, and they're like, okay, whatever. And they take the hat and drive away. And then Nate his real name is Nathan. Jeremy's like, oh yeah, well fuck you too. And I'm like, dude, you literally just attacked these people.
I love that he is mad at them.
Right. And they're like, okay, but okay, so then they drive away. Oh, also, there's now 2 girls that weren't at the party before, but are with them now for some reason. And I'm guessing the only reason is because they have like a sex scene. I don't know. So, okay, so now they get to the cabin, and then they're like, hey, my parents said that in order for us to stay here, like, we have to close up the cabin for the weekend and do yard work. And now we're at the yard work.
I would be so mad.
I would be too. I'd be like, guess you're doing this yard work by yourself.
I would have been like, eat shit. I'm not doing any of this fucking yard work.
Fuck you, Jason.
Fuck
And
your
it's
dumb family.
it's like extensive yard work. It's not just like rake the leaves and like whatever.
Well, no,
They're like
one of
weeding
them is rake the leaves, but it's in a fucking yard like the size of a football field.
Yeah, they're like in
Yeah.
the middle of nowhere. It's like so much yard around this house.
They're like pruning bushes and like I don't know. It just seems like very extensive for closing a cabin up for the winter, but I've never done that, so I guess I don't know.
The only thing I specifically remember from the yard work is the 2 women that like one of them just rakes the leaves into the shape of a vagina.
I loved her. I thought she was great.
I think one of the characters that's like supposed to be like trimming bushes is just cuts like 2 dead branches off like a bush with no leaves on it, and then just like walks away.
That would be me.
Yeah, so
I'd be
that's
like,
what I
yeah,
would have done.
I totally
Nailed
get
it.
it.
I would have just cut straight from the bottom so the whole bush came out, and then just be like, all right, I'm good.
I would just like set everything on fire.
I think there's like a quick story too in here that like one of the like I think the one dude
It's
is
so stupid.
talking about his grandma having dementia and thinking garden gnomes are real or some shit.
Yeah, it's like a pretty long part. It's like it goes on for a while, but I wrote Pam finds a gnome and makes fun of it, and then Jason is like that my grandma died and she loved gnomes is like essentially. And then she's like, "Oh, I like gnomes now too."
R.I.P. Grandma.
Right. And now we're at my favorite part.
The bird watcher.
Is that a yellow-breasted roller?
This
I don't
guy
know
and the
why I
fucking
loved
fisherman
him.
were the worst.
Oh, the fisherman was terrible.
Yeah, they just cut to like a bird watcher specifically to make like jokes about bird names.
He's like, what I really want to find is this something something pecker that my friend told me about. Where are you, you little pecker?
And then he grabs a gnome's dick.
And then he goes, wrong pecker.
Why is he narrating everything he does to himself?
I don't know,
That's why
because
I hate him.
Oh, you
his
don't,
like glasses fall off, and he's like, oh no, I can't see. Where are my glasses? I'm feeling around for my glasses.
you don't just narrate everything you're doing at work to yourself?
I do,
I
actually.
need to start, apparently.
I'm going to. I'm gonna
And then I also-
and everybody will leave me alone.
Maybe, yeah.
Grabbing some bubble mailers, packing
like
up the dinosaur toy.
I feel like a tall guy with a beard talking to himself is like very terrifying.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to think about putting this into motion.
Yeah. And then I just wrote, he is killed, there's jam. Because like the blood kind of looks like jam in this movie.
It reminded me of the goo from Ghostbusters 2.
Just slightly like less pink.
Yes.
My next note is sexy gas pumping.
Yeah. Mallory and Freddie get
Quote
gas
unquote sexy.
to loud music, and then I wrote no subtitles, so I have no idea what they're talking about. Because it's like they're talking to each other, but then first of all, the audio is really bad, but also they're like blasting like puddle
Fuel.
of mud or something. Yeah. It's like very loud.
Yeah, so the music in this movie fucking rules. By all music by Kevin Precy and Howard Sonnenberg, absolute kings. Just
Yeah.
Hero.
I like literally stayed to watch all the credits because I was trying to see like what the music. I was like, are these real songs?
they
Because they
are.
literally sound like they're the soundtrack from like any like movie that came out in 2005 or whatever.
I
So yeah.
am on board with these like Nine Inch Nails and The Cure ripoff songs that just are constantly playing underneath there. Not even underneath, over everything. in
Over
this movie.
everything.
Yes.
Yeah. I think this is where they're playing like the Cure part because this is when Michelle and Carrie decide that they're more than friends and they start making out in the woods. Oh no, I wrote they make out in woods to Tool, so
No,
I don't know.
it's definitely, well, at least the scene they start like actually making out and it's like a weird sort of sex scene is definitely a Cure ripoff song. Because like before the words started, like the lyrics, I was like, I think did they just steal a Cure song?
That's why I waited to see because it was like all of the music sounded like very familiar, but at the same time I'm like I don't recognize it. It was interesting.
This fucking quote unquote sex scene was super terrible.
That was like the part that Chris walked in and he was like, "What are you watching?"
You should have just like fumbled for the remote, but like nothing.
I'm watching. Yeah.
Or turned very slowly and just gone, no mercy.
I like. It always bothers me in movies like this where there's just like a sex scene of just at least at some point they're in a sleeping bag, but when it starts, they're just like laying in the fucking like muddy ground and leaves.
Yeah, and I'm like, I get that the moment just swept you away, but like you brought tents. Just saying. I don't know.
It just seems gross and terrible, and I hate it.
Yeah. Sick back tat though.
Yeah, it is.
Um, this is one of my quotes I wrote from the gnome because for some reason, I don't know why, but whenever it like switches back to Jeremy, it's like black and white, even though like he obviously exists at the same time as they do. But Jeremy finally dies, and he says like, "Oh, fuck you" to the gnome, and he goes, "No, fork you, asshole."
Yeah. Cuts off his fucking hand, and then he says, "Here's a hand job."
God damn it.
My favorite thing is because the gnome is like this huge like football player guy, right? And he's wearing like a fake black beard. And it's like literally obviously a fake beard because you can see that like the straps of the beard are like pushing his ears down or whatever. And he's wearing like a corduroy like jacket and then just like jinkos or whatever. And the lines he just like is just like very, except for one part of the movie, whenever he does his like puns or his lines, it's just like very like monotone, and it's just is really funny. I loved him. I stand no.
And then the two women that are trying to fuck in the woods.
Oh, they do.
Yeah,
they get it, girl.
I couldn't remember like if they get killed like in the middle of fucking or if it was like after and they're just like
it was after
snuggling in their fucking
yeah,
sleeping bag.
I wrote Michelle goes to get firewood and gets gnomed, then Carrie gets gnomed. And that's all I was writing about that because there's something really gross that happens to them that I just was like bleh.
Oh, aren't they like both basically impaled through the vagina unless like together?
Not well, yeah, sort of, but it was very gross, and I was like, "Nah, I'm not here for that."
That's the scene. Chris walks in, and you're just like, "Hey,
I'm
Chris."
like,
And then it cuts to the rest of the group back at home playing Scrabble with just the words "deep" and "wet." Whore was one of the words.
Yeah.
For some reason. It's all real stupid, and all I remember is somebody talking about cocks.
I don't know what they were talking about at this point.
All they talk about throughout this entire movie is either their dicks or their dead grandmothers. That's it. Those are the only two subjects.
There's no in between. Sometimes at the same time. No, just kidding. Gross.
I say this is my like second point of just noting that I hate these people so much.
Yeah. They are.
I think there's like I can't like I know at some point as a Jeremy that's just like new rule, and I think it's after the dude fucking Vin Diesel shows up where he's just like everybody's got to drink all these cases of beer.
Yeah, he's like, we're not going to sleep until all the booze is gone. And she's like, it's like 2 cases, but then they decide to do it anyway. I'm like, all right, or you could just like save your beer for the whole weekend, but that's fine.
It's like 2 cases minus 4 beers, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, he's right, Matt."
Yeah, we're almost there. Yeah, I said, like I didn't remember almost anything up until they like get to the house and are doing yard work. So my note is just all of a sudden some right said Fred looking dude is trying to force one woman to leave the party.
Yeah, so Mallory's crazy stalker Andrew shows up, and he is like a huge like Vin Diesel except tall. Vin Diesel's not tall, right? Isn't he short?
I don't know. He's like roughly like the height of the Rock,
average.
so.
Okay, well,
or they
so
they shoot him on top of like apple boxes for Fast and Furious.
I mean, movie magic, you
Platform shoes.
I love that. The bell bottoms. Yeah, so he's just like this. I don't know why. I just was like not expecting this guy to be like a huge like muscle like, you know, guy, but he's just like trying to
Steroid
get
pitbull.
yeah. So he's trying to like get them to leave, and then Jason and Freddie, who is Mallory's like new boyfriend, I guess. I don't know. In the beginning, it seemed like they were just friends, and now all of a sudden they're like together. Are like they start fighting him, and then for some reason oh, and one of the guy yells, "Suck my dick, Vin Diesel." That's why we're calling him Vin Diesel. And then he just was like, "You should have left with me," and then he just leaves, even though like he totally beat the shit out of the other two guys. So I wasn't sure why he left.
Oh, he also like
But
calls Mallory a cunt and like almost punches her in the face.
Okay.
We stand Vin Diesel in this movie.
Well, yeah.
He's the worst. Except that he
well,
does just beat the shit out of everybody else, and it's pretty
yeah,
awesome.
I don't stand like abusive stalker
No, he
people,
sucks.
but
I
other
did
people
like
suck too.
I did like
so.
watching Jeremy get punched in the face.
Jason,
Just whatever. Who cares?
one of the dudes. Yeah, I did too, and his little squirrely face. Anyways, okay, so then he leaves and he like runs into the gnome, and the gnome goes, "I think it's time for you to leave," and he stabs him in the eye with a branch, which I really like.
Was this the Gnome Guts, Gnome Glory?
Yes.
God, I
Oh
don't.
my god.
Kit, we need to start an exhumed gnome themed death grind
Yes. Done.
band. Just to call it Gnome Guts, Gnome Glory.
Two questions. Did he hand him his own guts?
I
don't-
think so.
I know.
I don't know how he.
I think it was just that like typical horror movie shit where like they get stabbed and then all of a sudden they're just like their guts are falling out.
Yeah, I
my
think so.
question-
Because
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think so because like he definitely stabs him in the eye, and then all of a sudden there's just guts or whatever it was. I don't know what the guts were.
I was gonna
They were-
say, I think the guts, or I guess my question is, were they uncooked strips of bacon?
I don't know.
Mm.
Like I know like a lot of like I've watched
I didn't see marbling.
I've
so
watched
I
like
don't
a
think...
lot of documentaries from like trauma movies and stuff, and like in the early days before like people realized the kind of health hazards to shit like this, and a lot of like independent movies will still do it. They'll just go to like a butcher shop and just buy like the cow or pig like discards or whatever. And
I was gonna say
use 'em.
it kind of looked like you know how they use like animal intestine, like
Yeah.
animal stomachs for like sausage lining? That's kind of what it looked like to me, but I like, really couldn't tell what it was because there are a couple scenes later where there's organs also, and like I don't know, some of them kind of looked like they could have been like actual
Yeah, I think
animal organs or something, but
a lot
So,
of
like
it
liver.
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
it looked like they just went to like a butcher shop and just bought like whatever, which like a lot of this like the movies I've seen where they talked about doing it, they're just like yeah, like it sounds like a good idea until like an hour after you're trying to shoot everything and it's like 90 degrees
no,
out
yeah.
and nothing's refrigerated and like people get fucking like sick from like all of this like raw guts and shit they're having to hold all day and
yeah, makes me want to throw
I
up.
love a raw gut.
yeah.
Well,
Then we get to my favorite scene because it looks like somebody shot it at like this entire scene with the fisherman just looks like one of those just like jumpy gifs you see on like Twitter. Like I don't know what they did filming this, but it looks like absolute shit.
I thought at first that maybe something was like wrong with it because I have watched a few things where it was like glitchy or whatever, but then the dialogue was normal, and for this entire scene I literally wrote fisherman wow, I don't know. This whole scene was just like baffling to me.
I thought it was my like internet just like
Yeah.
was fucked up, and I was like, oh god, why is it doing this? It shouldn't be doing this.
It basically just looked like somebody made a GIF from a fucking VHS tape. Like it's but also somehow shot in like HD. It's crazy. But this This fisherman is just like trying to fish and bitching to himself about like his ex-wife or girlfriend or whatever. It's
I
just
don't know.
just ranting and like
Bitch. He said bitch fish a lot.
yes. But the gnome shows up and jams his fishing rod through his asshole out of his mouth. Which I appreciated. I think this is the point.
I'm glad it was over very fast.
It looks like
his whole scene.
Yes, his like whole like liver came out of his mouth attached to the fishing rod.
Yeah. It's like, alrighty then.
My next note is what a fucking fun weekend getaway of doing yard work.
Yeah.
Like I would be so mad at this dude that had like invited us over for like a weekend party and then just made us spend all day doing fucking yard work.
Yeah, pretty much. I just wrote, they do wood stuff to tool again. So it's like a montage.
Nothing says
of
yard
them,
work to me more than fucking lateralis.
They just like do yard work, but then they're also like on a paddle boat and stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like any of them are taking this yard work very seriously.
No.
Good, they should, because it's stupid.
They also like don't even ever notice that Michelle and Carrie don't show up.
So this was like I had a note at some point
that they didn't come back.
I have a note somewhere in this movie where I was like, do these people just like forget their friends have been gone for like 2 days?
I mean, I guess they just like assumed that it went well, but at the same time, like they don't have like, I don't know. I feel like they would come back to go to the bathroom at least or something.
At least bringing them
I guess they're gonna stay out with banging all weekend.
I was gonna say, like, at least
You know?
bring them some water from all that like coming they're probably doing. Like, just let them,
Gross.
help them rehydrate.
This is canceled.
What?
Keep your friends hydrated, okay?
Yeah.
That's the lesson here.
Mm.
We stand, hydrate.
Yeah, hydrate your homies.
There's the next shirt.
And then, like, just for whatever reason, like, the fucking 4 of them decide to go on a walk, and then they're just playing football.
Yeah, I didn't understand any of this like side story.
This went the exact opposite of what I thought was going to happen, because you see the 2 women walk up first, and then they're just surrounded by like 4 random dudes that are just like, "Hey, ladies, want to play some football?"
Yeah.
And then it's just like, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be gross probably. And then just like the 2 like their 2 boyfriends or whatever show up, and then they all just like, both groups are just like, fuck yeah, we're best friends now. And then there's a montage of them playing football.
They just play football.
Yeah, it happens more than once where like someone says they're gonna go do something, but then they're like still there, and I'm like, what? Yeah, yep. Dudes come to play football for a long time.
This montage is so crazy. It's so stupid.
It's like where in the last Vampire on Earth, when they go to play football and they throw the football once, it's like the opposite because it's like 10 minutes of them playing football.
How dare you compare Gnomercy to that masterpiece? I don't remember why I have this note. I just have, who is this fucking third group of dummies?
I mean, it's the football guys, yeah.
I feel, no.
Oh, no. It's Chuck from the beginning and his friends.
Yes.
Because when they left his house, Jason was like, "Hey, we're going to go to the cottage. You should come too. Bring some friends." And he's like, "Yeah, I could probably get that together." And then they leave and Chuck's like, "Where's the cabin?"
Okay.
And I was like, "Okay." So yeah, it's Chuck and his friends, and
I just have Gnome kills all these people and then steals one lady's pants.
okay. So Chuck. First of all, these might be the worst group of actors in this whole movie, which is saying something. Because like one of the guys is like, it does that thing where as he's talking he's smiling the entire time, which I absolutely hate. But yeah, also it's broad daylight. So like the gnome killed the birdwatcher and the fisherman broad daylight. Now he's like at this group of people, so you see the gnome, like you can see what he looks like, and he's just whatever. Actually, it might be scarier because he just looks like a dude that like. Anyways, Chuck gets drowned in a puddle of mud. Um, the one of the other guys just gets his head stomped on. Like he literally just stomps his head in.
With an awesome like sound
The
effect.
sound effects are pretty good. The other guy, the gnome picks him up and walks him into a tree and just like bends him back completely backwards. I mean, it's clearly a
best.
mannequin, but it was pretty funny.
I appreciate
So then
that.
the girl screams and then she like runs away and it's like running after her as if like you are the gnome. So it's like shaking and you just see like the gnome's hand and he's just like ripping her clothes off like as she runs.
She
I
is
was like,
the most 2001 scene girl in this movie.
100%,
I
yes.
don't know where they found these people that still look like this, but I'm here for it.
The mall.
I don't think people.
Hot topic.
I don't think people go to the mall anymore.
Those are the only people that do.
Just
They hang out at
aimlessly
Spencer's.
wandering around, yeah, looking for Spencer's gifts.
This was actually filmed in Spencer's. They had that
I-
whole cabin set up.
I would believe
right.
it. It sounds like the music that blasted Spencer's the whole time. So
They got all those belts for free for working there.
Right. Because even Jason is wearing one of those like zip up jackets that like all the douchebags wore like at that time too. I hated it.
oh
Anyways.
yeah, that like weird square looking fucking jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I hate it. Yeah. Okay.
And then I think the next thing is the whole football crew comes over to party with them. They're playing poker.
Yeah. And I wrote, this might be the first time I've seen a purple nurple in a movie. Jason gives the guy a purple nurple.
I missed that. I'm very sad I missed that. Because like
yeah,
my next note is just E.T. the extra testicle.
Yeah, the scene was like so stupid because Jason tells a story about one time it was Freddy's birthday and Freddy is afraid of public bathrooms, so he, I don't know, pooped his pants, I guess. And then Freddy tells a story about how, and also, okay, so he tells the story about how Jason and Pam were on a break. Pam is sitting in the room. They don't even show her, but he's like halfway into telling the story and he's like, Pam, have you heard the story? And Pam's like, no. And then tells a story about how Jason decided he was going to like hook up with these two people and one of them had one testicle. I don't really know
Yeah,
because
it
then
was
they were
all gross.
they're making a bunch of like gross jokes in that fashion. And then one of the guys starts snorting some flour.
Yeah,
And this is my
I was like, I just had a note about how this dude is just literally just doing scoops of coke with a fucking playing card, and I'm like, this dude would be super dead.
Yeah, I don't really understand it either because they're just like sitting there playing poker, and then all of a sudden it's like the coke like fell out of his sleeve. It just was like all of a sudden all over the table, and he was just like, "Oh man, might as well just
She's really,
whatever."
really fucked up by not dropping it on a garden gnome and pissing on it and bringing another one to life.
I know they could have had an army because like the gnome in Jason's parents' yard looks exactly like the gnome from the beginning because like obviously they only had one gnome. But
This all leads to my favorite scene with the pizza
this
guy.
is this is my favorite scene too.
Like they have a pizza delivered, and it's just like whatever. Like they get the pizza, and there's just this dumb back and forth about it taking more than 30 minutes or whatever. And Jason like gives him $40 for his $35 pizza or whatever, and he's like, "Keep the change, bro." But then the pizza guy goes to leave and was like confronted by the gnome, which he invites back to his mom's house to help fix up her yard and offers to follow him on Twitter.
Okay, but first he's like, he leaves the house and it's like completely dark, so you can't see anything. And he's just like, "What's that?" And all you can see is the pizza guy, and he just goes, "Oh my God, are you a gnome?" And then the gnome goes, "Like no mother." And I was like, yeah, pizza guy asked the gnome to come to fix his mom's garden, asks if he can follow the gnome on Facebook and Twitter. And then he's like, he just like keeps going. He's just like, "Oh, I'm sorry, did I catch you at a bad time? I can come back at a later time. Like, do you have a business card? And then he's just like, I wrote, asks about student discounts. And the gnome, I guess, chainsaws him in half.
I don't think he just
And
rips him in half.
I don't know, but then he's like, yeah, ask about student discount, and then he's just like, how about half off? And it just like shows the gnome's face, and there's just like blood all over it. I laughed
Yeah, I think this is
so hard.
this is around the first time you get like a good look at like the gnome's face. I think.
Yeah, because it's like a close up.
He just looks like oh, what's Dwight's cousin's name?
Mose. I was gonna say that. Literally, I was thinking that the entire time. Except Moses' beer is real, but
Alleged.
that's what I was. Yeah, right. That's what I was imagining this entire time.
Would have been a lot better.
Yeah.
So then the gnome just peeps on everybody at the party through the window.
I died whenever his head popped up.
It's the most obvious like thing. Like, there's no way nobody would have noticed.
Nobody.
Right. Nobody.
And then this fucking cop from earlier in the movie comes back. That I don't think we talked about.
No,
This
because
guy, I love. They try so hard to hide that this is like a Canadian production for some reason, even though everyone sounds extremely Canadian.
yeah.
This cop is fighting his Canadian accent so hard to do a Southern accent for some reason.
So awesome.
It's perfection.
He's just like like he might as well just be like talking about hockey and Tim Hortons the whole time. It rules. He's
Pretty
so
much,
good.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember. I just know that like the gnome kills him, but I can't remember why. But like this cop shows up to like tell these kids. Oh, that's right. They call the cop earlier in the movie when Vin Diesel shows up, I think.
Yeah. Well, then
Oh, good.
he gets called back because there's like a noise complaint, and he's just like, "Are y'all kids having a party, eh?
Because the whole neighborhood knows it, even though they're like out in the
Two
middle of fucking
towns
nowhere.
over." Yeah. Yep. I don't know. I just wrote cop comes back because they're loud, eventually gets chainsawed.
What a legend. They should just fucking cast this dude in more movies. Yeah, and then I think there's like a quick scene of the fucking gnome making weapons out of like tools in a tool shed or some shit.
Yeah, he's just sharpening his tools, you know. Gotta stay sharp.
Can we talk about how he got very large, but all of his tools stayed very small?
Yeah.
So had like the tiny little shovel.
I think they're normal size, but he's just very big. Cause he has, I don't know.
He's too big, even for like the normal size tools.
Yeah, I think so.
I think is this the point when like all the football dudes leave and just all get killed by the gnome?
Yes.
Because I just have one dude kicked in the dick to death.
Yeah.
Does he cough up a testicle?
No, he like that's where I thought it was going, and he never does, and I was like, such a missed opportunity.
I didn't understand. Yeah, because it's like one of the guys just got like one of those little hand rakes like in his neck, and the dude was like, "Oh my god, are you okay?" And he's just like, choking on blood. And he's like, "I'll go get help." And then he gets grabbed, and I was like, "Guy gets kicked in the balls from behind, chokes on blood?" ? I'm not really sure like how he died from what happened to him. I mean, it looked very painful though. And
Yeah, it did not look fun. And then
No.
I think the main football bro that was just doing playing cards worth of cocaine gets like tied up and head crushed with a wheelbarrow.
yeah, and you know what? I'm looking at the credits, and the Jimmy LeBlanc is credited as gnome and football player. So I think he just killed himself.
Oh, hell yeah.
Damn.
Take a load off. That's what the gnome said. So yeah, he's like done with gnome puns at this point. He ran out.
I think, yeah, this is when I noted, are these people not at all concerned with their two missing friends from the beginning of the movie?
Nope, they're still not.
Um, is this... Oh, okay, so they, like, go out for some reason to, like, look for people. Like, I forget who they're going to look for.
They kept saying Ryan, who I assume is the football player, but like we never get introduced to the football players like by name, so I don't really know like why they're like, "Have you seen Ryan? Have you seen Ryan?" I was like, "Who the fuck is Ryan?" Except for that, like one of them at one point mentioned that they were gonna all meet at like a bonfire, so I assume that's what they're doing, but I don't know. Like this part didn't really make sense to me. I don't know who Ryan is.
Yeah, it's just they eventually, like, stumble across all of, like, the dead bodies of these football bros. And then just start getting attacked by the gnome. Where the
Finally.
fucking 2002 scene couple gets killed. Who, like, I literally, like, I will say was, like, surprised, because what is her name? Mallory?
Mallory and Freddie,
Like, I
yeah.
felt like she was the kind of, like, what they were, like, leading to be, like, the final girl of the movie.
Yeah.
Because they had, like, they, you know, made that whole fucking bullshit with, like, Vin Diesel, like, a pretty, you know, focal point of the movie. And, like, I don't know, it seemed like they were painting her as, like, the, like, main character of this group, sort of the person you're supposed to care about, and then apparently not.
Yeah, guess not.
Freddy is stabbed, like, in the chest with a fucking some gardening utensil I don't know the name
Contraption.
of.
I think it's like one of those things that you use to like dig holes.
A shovel.
No, like
I was gonna
poke,
say hole digger.
Yeah.
like you poke a hole down if you're trying to
Yeah.
like put in a stake or something.
As you
I
can
don't.
tell, none of us do yard work.
Okay, but then it also
I
had like a
was regarding.
blade on the other side, so maybe it was like a tree
Well,
trimmer. I
no,
don't I don't really
I
know.
think that was like one of the shit he was making in the shed.
He was like Kevin McAllistering
He
it.
basically just put one of those, like, hole diggers and just, like, tied a fucking, like, gardening shears to the other end, because then he just smashes
Okay.
Mallory's face into, like, the other end, and then just leaves them there, like, posted together.
Yeah, that's pretty gross.
The
Wasn't
double shovel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just tied two
They
shovels
got
together
double.
like a fucking double lightsaber.
Oh my
The movie would
God.
have
I
been
was like
fucking amazing if the end fight was just the one girl with the shovel, and then, like, the gnome had a double shovel.
just like they replicated like the Darth Maul fight,
Yes.
but with a gnome.
I would
The
have.
gnome's doing all these flips.
This would have been easily a 4 out of 5 movie for me if that happened.
Yes.
Oh, I love it.
And then,
Okay.
like, the last two of the group finally stumble across the dead women from earlier in the movie. They're just like, oh shit, our friends, I forgot about them.
Yeah, right. They're just like, oh, hey, Carrie, why aren't you getting up? Well, I guess they don't know people are dying yet.
Yeah, I think that's the first. No, well, they see the.
Well, just that one guy, but they don't know that like
Yeah.
everybody's getting murdered or whatever.
How does the gnome kill Jason?
So they're trying to run back to the cottage. The gnome shows up with an axe and wrestles with Jason. Jason kicks him in the ball. Okay, so this part I was like a little mad because I actually thought that I was mad that Jason was like holding his own. He like kicks the gnome in the balls and he's like punches him a bunch of times. And then the gnome hits him, and the gnome like literally, I don't know how to explain this other than to say the gnome like beats Jason with his arm. He's just like slamming down on Jason with his arm, and it's making this like crazy loud thunk sound. And then he axes him in the chest.
Perfect. That's what Jason deserves.
And they like close up on the axe wound, but it's like just kind of like red jelly on his chest. I don't know.
Then, like, what's this last woman's name?
Pam.
Pam. So Pam goes, like, fleeing back to the house where the gnome follows her, and just, like, she runs in and he follows her back in the house, and he sees his hat just propped up on, like, a side table. And she just, like, fucking grabs it, and, like, she leaves the house, and he goes following her again. Where
I just like thought I was like, is the reason that he's like such on a murderous rampage because that guy took his hat? Like, I don't, first of all, I don't
I mean,
understand how that guy got his hat, but then
b-
he's just like, oh, my hat.
basically, yes, that's what I think is supposed to be conveyed, but they don't do it very well.
Because then I thought maybe he would like leave Pam alone because like now he has his hat, so he doesn't care, but that's not true.
It's big Jason X energy. When the guy's like, "It's fine. He just
wants
wanted his machete back."
Yeah. I also want this
I
gnome soft, so.
I wish he would have like stabbed someone with the hat, but
That would have been perfect.
Should-
So Pam's like running through the woods, and the gnome from who knows how far away barely bumbles to her. There's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to hide.
I laughed so hard because then he goes, okay, so this is the part I was talking about. So the rest of the time he just like says everything just like very matter of factly, but then he goes, I see you, and he like sings it, and I died.
They eventually come to like a cliff and have this final face-off where she kicks him in the dick immediately and steals his shovel, and just
I mean, that's what you
Smart.
should do.
Good
Yeah.
move.
and she just beats him with the shovel and knocks him off a cliff, which is pretty anticlimactic.
Okay, this is what I wrote. Pam kicks Gnome in the balls and takes his shovel, then beats him with it a la chair tap. She was like swinging the the shovel like so hard, but then like when she got to him, she was like stopping. So it like reminded me of the chair tap from the locket.
And then it's just the credits with the greatest song ever written, the history of man. I think Kit had texted us when he was watching it. It was like, oh my god, the credits are perfect.
I actually really
was the
liked
best.
them. Yeah, well, because it started off, I wrote 90s sitcom end credits because it's like showing the main characters doing whatever, and then they just like stop and smile or like give finger guns or whatever. But they do it for like everybody in the movie, and then some of it's like outtakes or you know like whatever. And I thought it was very charming.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like these like fun like scenes of them like where like again you said they're like acting and then they just look at the camera and just like hey, but then it's
But
like,
there's like
juxtaposed with this fucking new metal song with somebody just
Yeah.
grunting Gnomercy over like
Gnomercy.
fucking over and over again, and
I love
but
it.
then there's like
Uh,
not like during like more of the credits there are this like bloopers, but you can't
Yeah.
hear any of it. It's just like the scene playing while this fucking song is playing over it.
My favorite clip from it is like the very last one they show is like I'm not sure who it is. Maybe I don't know who it is, but it's like one of the guys that's like screaming because he's getting murdered or whatever, and you could just see the director's just like like flicking blood on like all over him, and he's just like screaming. It was great.
But then you get a Marvel post-credit scene where Nick Fury shows up and grabs the gnome's hat. And he's like, I got
And
it.
it's like I'm the gnome now, motherfucker.
He's like, I don't know if you're aware, but we have this initiative we're trying to start. The Gnome Ventures initiative.
The gnome Avengers.
And that's when we're going to get in the sequel. All the gnomes are going to team up.
I'm in.
It's from across
I
the
would be super into that.
This dude, the gnome that's Gnome Alone, the gnome named Norm.
The fucking numerous garden gnome animated movies.
Winklebottom.
Romeo and Juliet.
Sherlock gnomes.
Yeah. Figgles. What's the other one? Figglesforth? The other one from King of the Hill?
Oh, I don't remember.
It's like Figglesworth or something like that.
And just
I love it.
out of nowhere, Willow.
Really? And Hoggle from the Labyrinth.
Yes.
But like, oh my gosh, I saw so like they're trying to do like a sequel to the Labyrinth or something, which like I'm not really cool with. I think they should just leave it. But they were showing these like they were like, well, Hoggle didn't really hold up very well, and they were showing shots of like the original puppet for him, and it's like all deteriorated and stuff, and that sounds terrifying if he was like moving around and stuff.
Have you seen the somebody had the fucking masks or whatever from the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles like live action movie.
Oh my
And they look
god.
fucked up. It's so creepy.
It's
Ugh.
horrifying.
I'm not gonna look for
Yeah,
them.
they are super creepy.
I'm gonna send them to the group chat.
Yes, do
No.
it. Katie, do you got any news? I guess fuck it. I guess Katie's 100% going to recommend this movie.
You know, I think I don't know. I thought it was very funny. Like it is kind of not great, but it wasn't as hard to get through as some of the other ones for me.
I think it would have been a lot better if it was shorter.
I agree. I think there's a lot of stuff they could have taken out of it, but the plot of it and the gnome and the puns, I think for me make it. I thought it was funny. Like I don't regret having watched it. I'll just say that.
Yeah. Kit, you recommend it?
No,
Yeah, I didn't think so.
it's awful. Just listen to the soundtrack.
Yes.
My official stance.
I would say watch the opening 2 minutes and then skip to the last 5 minutes.
Yes,
There you go.
that's the ideal way to experience this.
Yeah, overall I would say no regrets.
Do you have news, Katie?
Not
No
really.
more news.
No more news. Like really the only thing I saw I cared about was literally announced after we finished recording our What We Do in the Shadows episode. They announced that the series was renewed for a third season. So that's really exciting.
Do you guys want a weekly world news update?
Yes.
Absolutely, I do. Is it a PhD ape?
Kangaroos awakens.
Oh fuck!
I love
I've been
her.
dreading this day.
It's literally a Godzilla body with a kangaroo head.
Oh, I did see that one. I was really excited about the vampire sharks.
Yes. Spontaneous combustion cases in the U.S. on the rise.
Well, you know.
Knew it.
Should be me. Invisible.
Yeah, I'm not gonna ever be that lucky.
Invisible Bible found at the bottom of the sea.
Ooh.
Oh, who will play the virus in the movie? Hollywood casting. So we got Matt Damon, Rosie
He's
O'Donnell,
perfect.
Clint Eastwood, Homer Simpson,
Oh,
Oh.
The Rock, or Kristen Wiig. Oh,
Is it a
shit.
comedy?
I don't know. I don't think so. Taylor Swift apparently pregnant with Bat Boy's baby.
Oh, bad.
Oh,
boy,
damn.
why?
Get it, Bat Boy?
No, girl, you could do better.
That's impossible.
I'm saying Bad Boy could do better.
Animals reclaim New York City nightclub. Oh, all right. This is your weekly world news update.
Would you guys like a weekly Zach Baggins tweet?
Yes.
Okay, this one was from the 16th of this month. He said, retweet if you think I should do Naked and Afraid. For real, though.
Yes.
There are 7,000 retweets, so maybe.
Just him fucking like trying to fight a ghost in the middle of the woods naked.
Could you imagine? What is that? Did you hear that? What was that? Bro. But he's by himself.
We're gonna do a weekly Zach Baggins tweet until he comes on the podcast. And
Man.
Katie has a heart attack.
I love it.
All right. Do you guys want to recommend anything? Katie, you go first, so we don't have 30 seconds of silence.
Oh, wait.
Like every week.
I do. I do also have the updated what's coming to Shudder in June.
Oh yeah, go for it.
If you want to do that. If you want to be my
what?
So we're getting Scream Queen, My Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, is that coming to that?
Hell,
It should be June 4th.
Oh yeah, I want to see that.
Um, another, I don't know. There's a lot that I've never even heard of. Scare Package, um, Blackula,
Oh man.
House of a Thousand Corpses,
Boo.
something called Lyle, The Bone Box, Mausoleum,
Ooh,
something
Mausoleum's coming
called,
on there.
yeah,
I guess Mausoleum's on Prime. I don't know why I'm that excited about it, but
obviously a bunch of Last Drive-In stuff. Something that I think we should do called Ghost Killers versus Bloody Mary.
I'm in.
Um, and there's a couple other ones, but those are the meat of it. My recommendations. Let me think. I don't know. Chris and I have been watching a lot of like 70s action movies to try and fall asleep because I don't really like action movies, and so we watched a bunch of like Charles Bronson movies,
Watching
and
Death Wish.
we did watch Death Wish, and holy shit, what the fuck? Also, didn't know Jeff Goldblum was in it.
Yeah, that was like
Be-
what his like first role.
And
Yeah, like uncredited, right?
it was, yeah, because like he wasn't in the credits or anything, and then when he showed up, Chris was like, "Oh my God, is that Jeff Goldblum? Like 8 foot tall Jeff Goldblum?" And then in the credits, he's just credited as Freak One, and I was like, they were freaks. We watched another one. There was one where he's like an assassin, um, and he has to like teach this protege to also be an assassin or something. And then we watched a bunch of like really old Burt Reynolds movies, like White Lightning. And I gotta say, I have a really hard time following what's happening in any of those movies. Like, it's crazy.
It's not
Um,
from the 70s, but you should watch Bangkok Dangerous.
oh my
It's a
gosh.
remake of a movie. It's a remake of, I think, like a kung fu movie, but Nick Cage is the star of it,
My God.
and it's
Oh, you know what?
insane.
I have heard of that. I can see the cover in my head.
Caitlin and I
Um,
watched it one night on like a whim, and it is real stupid.
I believe it. Then we also watched like a bunch of Harrison Ford stuff like Patriot Games and Air Force One. So I don't know, it's been real crazy. We're watching the Thelma and Louise right now with Susan Sarandon and Gina Davis,
Yeah.
who I love both of them, and Brad Pitt is in it. It's just like so crazy to watch these older movies and then be like, oh my God, I know who all these actors are, but like at the time. I mean, people in 91 knew who they were, but you know what I mean? Like, some of it's been really crazy. And then we watched Drillbit Taylor. Have you guys seen that movie?
What is happening?
It actually wasn't the worst, I gotta say. So I guess my recommendation is like just go watch a bunch of old movies you've never
Watch
seen.
Drillbit Taylor.
Yeah, watch Drillbit Taylor. Oh, we also watched the Stargate movie, which neither of us haven't seen, and I didn't realize that James Hayter was in it.
Stargate rules.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, whatever.
What about you, Kit?
I'm gonna say WWF No Mercy 2001. Specifically, The Rock versus Chris Jericho and Stone Cold versus Kurt Angle versus RVD. So that shit whips.
I feel like
Is there a wrestler who is a gnome?
oh, there definitely probably was in like the 80s.
There's a leprechaun wrestler.
Yeah,
Mm,
His name's Hornswoggle.
who starred
his name's what?
Hornswoggle.
Hornswoggle? Does he say, "You've been hornswoggled"?
I feel like
I
he
don't think
didn't
he
talk for
talks.
like the first like however long he was doing stuff.
Hmm.
He is the star of the WWE produced Leprechaun Origins. Oh shit, Kit,
Sure.
you watched that like in the last little bit, didn't you?
I haven't watched Origins yet.
Oh,
no,
fuck. I thought
Oh
you
my
watched
God,
I
it.
own it, but I haven't watched it.
You guys, I just Googled WWE gnome characters, and there's legit a website where you can buy gnomes that
Oh,
are
yeah.
WWE characters.
WWF.com, because I'm on there right now.
Yes. There's The Rock, Undertaker. The John Cena one is weird.
Well, to look like
Oh my
Ernest.
God. John Cena fan gnome bench. It says C Nation on it, and there's a bunch of gnomes. There's the Hornswoggle.
The Undertaker gnome is pretty sick.
He's pretty cool.
God.
Oh my gosh! So there's like gnomes in Animal Crossing, and there's like 6 or 7 different variations, and some of them are they're just like normal gnomes but different colors. But then there's one that's like Biker Daddy gnome, and I put it in front of somebody's house because it cracks me up. He's wearing like a leather jacket, and like I'm always like, "There's Biker Daddy gnome."
I like the idea that you just like leave biker daddy gnomes at people's houses in this game.
I love it.
Um.
Breeze by the fact that Nathan has a gnome. Did you get rid of it?
Oh yeah, I threw that away.
Oh no! Was it a zombie?
Or my mom may have taken it back. I don't know. Yeah, my mom had gotten me like a zombie garden gnome at some point for some reason. That was literally still in the packaging from like 8 years later.
I think one time you like sent me a snap and I just like saw it in the background and I was like, what the fuck is that? Because then I, for some reason, had it in my mind that you were like into gnomes.
Yeah, I'm like Peggy.
I love it. Sorry, go ahead. What do you recommend?
My recommendation is the album Intentionally Decapitated Police Officer by THX 1312.
Wow, it's a lot of...
Very topical at the moment. Alright, next week we are unfortunately continuing with our gnome theme.
Despite all of this.
Yes.
Listen, I think that Gnomercy turned out to be like very... I thought it was going to be the worst thing ever, and it wasn't, so...
I have very high hopes that Gnome Alone is going to be better.
I hope that it's just the gnome. I hope it's Home Alone, but a gnome. Oh, I guess it would be somebody trying to stave off a gnome, but I wish it was the...
Have either of you looked up what Vern Troyer looks like in the movie?
No.
Nope.
Oh, boy.
Oh, no. I'm scared.
Oh, it's so good. I'm literally going to spend the whole episode talking about when he was on Surreal Life.
Oh, man.
Just getting drunk.
What a great ship.
Just driving around, peeing in corners. What a legend. Yeah, so I think Gnome Alone was on Tubi. I think like that and a gnome named Norm are on Tubi, but it's a gnome named Norm is called like Upward or some shit.
Oh.
Yeah, it's got like for some reason it has like 4 other titles. But
I hate that.
I believe that was on Tubi as well, but if not, I know for a fact that one's on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, watch that shit. You can go buy our shirt that Katie designed. It's storefrontier.com/I hope you suffer.
Buy it before we retire it for our gnome shirt.
Yes, before we have a shirt of Pam fighting the dude from the lock-in, the chair, and a shovel.
Oh, Upworld.
Oh, it's Upworld.
Yeah.
Apparently there's, from some of the comments on Instagram, there's a gnome butt in this movie that I'm
Hell yeah.
ready for.
I can't wait.
Stand gnome
Oh my
butts.
god. Oh my god. There's like a gif of the gnome walking around the streets wearing sunglasses, and I'm so stoked.
He looks fucked up. It's weird.
He does.
Okay,
sorry.
Stan Winston directed it, and he's like, legend special effects dude, so I'm like pretty excited to see what this movie looks like.
I think that we should also do his movie from 1996, Michael Jackson's Ghosts.
No. Yeah, buy our shirt. storefrontier.com/I hope you suffer.
Buy it, and then hopefully people should be getting theirs.
Yeah, I looked at because I had ordered one for me and Caitlin and one for Kit, so what like the discount we get for whatever, and I think it's in like the queue to be printed now. Like, it just gives you like updates on when they're gonna, or how like the progress on them.
That's cool.
You can rate and review us on iTunes and all that shit. Give us 5 stars. Tell us your favorite gnome puns.
Oh yeah, if you have other ones.
Yeah, even though this movie pretty much exhausted all of them.
Yeah.
Follow us on Twitter at IHopeYouSuffer and Instagram at IHopeYouSuffer Podcast. Listen to Kit's other podcast, Riff Raff. Have you guys recorded an episode lately?
No, we fell back off.
I was waiting for the Power Ranger episode, man.
Someday.
I had made like a playlist on my iPod that I just like add just the podcast to it. I just like listen in like the order they were released. But I'm still back in like 2018 from like Knowledge Fight and like some of the other ones I've been listening to. So like I'm just add shit and eventually I'll get to it. I couldn't remember if you guys had a new one because I know Joe has been steadily releasing stuff, so it just pops up with Toilet of Hell.
This was like really weird. So I was listening to this other podcast called Morbid. It's just like a like a regular true crime, whatever. They do listener episodes. There was legit a listener story where somebody had a gnome figure in their house that like a bunch of crazy stuff was happening around it, and I was like, this is very fortuitous because like I've never listened to this podcast until now, and that just happened to be the episode I listened to today.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I was like, God.
Follow Katie at Werewolf Face on the things and commission her to make artwork for you.
Yeah, you can do that. I'll do gnomes, I guess.
Yeah. Just get her out of the habit of drawing fucking ventriloquist dummies.
Oh my god. Listen, it was only the one time and it still haunts me.
Katie did the artwork for my new podcast that Caitlin and I started because we got tired of talking about why Flavor Flav is such a piece of shit.
I don't blame you.
We will probably at some point get back to Let Me Be Your Pot of Love, but it's just everything else in the world. We were just like, we don't want to talk about why these people are shitty all the time. So we switched gears and started a podcast called Nate and Kate Movie Club, where we're going to just each pick a movie every week, or like, every other week, and talk about movies that are good.
So your guys' first episode was Moonstruck, and I secretly think that you started this podcast just so you can watch more Nick Cage movies.
Oh, I mean, I have no problem recommending Nick Cage movies for I Hope You Suffer. I don't remember how we decided on Moonstruck as the first episode, but I had not seen it because I think like our general idea is supposed to be a movie one of us hasn't seen in a long time, or like doesn't necessarily remember or anything like that. And I had not seen Moonstruck. That was like one of her favorite movies. So, and then the next episode we're doing The Wizard.
Wow.
Oh hell yeah!
Saw Moonstruck for the first time like after I had moved to California, because I remember like snapping you like the Nick Cage.
I lost my hand. I lost my pride.
That movie is bonkers. I was like, what in the hell is going on? I do love Cher though, so that's why I watched it. But it is bananas.
I was into it. It's a good movie. But you can follow that Nate and Kate Movie Club on it's on iTunes and all that shit already, Spotify. So go follow that. Watch Gnome Alone next week, I guess.
I'm gonna be really disappointed if there's no gnome puns in this one. That's all I'm gonna say.
There better be at least one scene where Vern Troyer slaps his face and screams in it, or we'll be real upset. All right. I hope you suffer, but why?
Wrong pecker.
No fun.
Oh my god! Fucking stupid pecker line.
You stupid pecker.
Deep in the woods, where now I can hear you scream. Run all your life, there's no getting Cause it's not what's obscene, it's hate, it's evil, it's how God damn me. I'm spaced on, time is not, here to get what is mine by right. So with a black heart and black eyes, vengeance be my name. No mercy, no mercy, no mercy. No mercy, no mercy, no mercy. Side effects I impose, so you'll never hear me. No rules or formula, I grab what's at hand. Whatever leads to the lynching of a stranger. Look who's laughing now, you'll all be dead by dawn. This one's already probably starting to coagulate. Quality carnal time is running short. Your only choice is how to rush to your downfall. Run back, cry, fall, and fight. I will have my revenge. No mercy, no mercy, no mercy. No mercy, no mercy, no mercy. No mercy. No mercy, no mercy, 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 no mercy. No mercy.